You didn't ask for it, but I'm giving it to you anyway. 3 PvE weapons that I think are noteworthy enough to keep an eye out for. Now, of course, it goes without saying, I'm not exactly known for PvE content. In fact, my first ever solo dungeon attempt, I walked straight off the map within 2 minutes. But forget about that. Listen, I'm driving myself nuts here, thinking about what am I going to get wrong here? Are there other choices that are just better? I need to stop humming and hawing and show you guys. Just get to it. If you're wondering why there's no uploads, it's because my mind hates me. But I'm pushing on, damn it. Here's what I have for you guys. And if I'm wrong about anything, you let me know. Some might be obvious, some maybe not. We'll see. Firstly, one of my favorite weapons so far this season, is it still called a season? An episode? Whatever you call it. The Mercury-A bow, which is essentially a legendary wish ender. High impact bow, over penetrates. Oh, it's so good. My favorite roll that I've been using and obsessed with since I got it has been the Attrition Orb's Kinetic Tremor roll. Now, of course, this is already a popular choice with the Multi-Mac because it's basically an orb printer. So I'm not going to say it's unpopular or some sort of random, like, whoa, this is out there sort of pick. Of course not. But this bow hits hard, and Kinetic Tremors procs after only 2 arrows hit. I can never sing the praises quite enough for Kinetic Tremors. It is that good for high-end content or just regular content. Either or. So if you put on your helmet a Kinetic Siphon mod, you get even more use out of Attritional. And now don't get me wrong, Orb of Power, it's not just for super. It's a very small, very tiny amount for super, but also the main thing here is surge mods or picking up orbs simply for health. But on top of that, Attrition Orbs procs much faster with Kinetic Tremors because the hits and the splash damage from Kinetic Tremors count towards Attrition Orbs. So you end up making so many orbs. And it doesn't sound very practical, but trust me, it really is. It's fantastic. And I mentioned earlier that this bow over penetrates. Well, yes. Have you ever hit a collateral on a dreg? Yeah. I thought so. Look at those little shits. They stood no chance. Plus, I'm a little bit of a slut for the tech set armor set. Tech set armor set. That's a weird... It's not a tongue twister, I'm just stupid. Obviously, 2 pieces of the tech set means you deal significantly increased kinetic damage to combatants' shields, which is very powerful, by the way. But if you have 4 pieces, which I do, when you defeat a powerful combatant, it makes a extra kinetic tremor blast. So kinetic tremors plus an extra wave, shockwave of kinetic tremor energy, which makes it even better. Let's say for a tiny example, right? You're running Devil's Lair. I love that strike, by the way. Classic. But you're shooting a wizard, okay? And usually a wizard is surrounded by those stupid thralls. And so you kill the wizard because it's a yellow bar. It drops an extra kinetic tremors. It also takes, I say 2 to 3 arrows to kill it. So automatically, you're making the kinetic tremors and also the extra kinetic tremor from the armor set happen all at once, all the while making a bunch of orbs on top of that. And you know what? If you happen to not kill some thrall, damn right, over penetration, take that! I am now shouting. I'm very sorry. I like this bow. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, in terms of pure orb printage, you're probably better off using the Multi-Mac, but what's the fun in that, huh? You tell me. Plus, of course, it's a seasonal weapon, so it currently gets the seasonal extra damage buff, you know? Plus, of course, the origin traits this thing has, which it has 3 of. It has Vanguard Determination, which, if you just use your class ability, final blows with the weapon make you more resistant to damage. That sounds fine. That sounds very ideal. That sounds nice even. Huge, potentially. Or, of course, Tenacity if you just want more reload speed, faster drawing time, you know, handling, all that. I love running around with this thing, and it's just a portal ops weapon. It's a regular weapon. You will most certainly get this bow by just doing portal activities. So go grind for it. And I'm sure when I get to the Grandmaster level, it will still feel nice. Mythic? That's another question. But I will say I'm 260-ish light at the moment, and throughout that whole grind, I have been using this pretty consistently, and it's felt great, no matter what I've used it in. It's practical. It works. Lol. Up next, we have the Ahab Char. This is the 720 RPM auto rifle, which is of course new to Edge of Fate. It is of the Braytech origin, so it has the origin trait of Braytech. Wow, how did I get where? It's a Braytech weapon. If you've used the Braytech werewolf before, you'll recognize this weapon design. You know what I mean. I know you're listening, William. And much like other new solar weapons this season, it's come with the new solar perk, Burning Sensation. Sorry, not Burning Sensation, that's just when I pee. Burning Ambition. And it reads, dealing sustained damage more quickly scorches the target. Dealing damage to a scorched target inflicts scorch. Hi, this is me post-edit. I'm assuming they mean ignite, not scorch, because they've said scorch there twice. Yeah. Unless I'm wrong. Am I stupid? I don't know. Anyway, on with the video. You know, it's a pretty interesting combo, right? You basically just mag dump a boss, or whatever it is that has a lot of health, and you eventually scorch it, and when you scorch it, it ends up igniting, which is a big amount of damage. So immediately I thought, is this going to be the incandescent? You know, it doesn't require kills necessarily, so it can be used not necessarily on bosses, but certainly ultras or something like that, right? It has a purpose, it has a use. And so fairly early on, I was lucky enough to get a heal clip and a burning ambition roll, and also I got a roll that has subsistence and burning ambition. And I couldn't quite think what is the best idea for this sort of roll, right? Because at the same time, you can add clue with it just like normal, and when you inflict scorch on targets, it doesn't have to be on one specific target. For example, in order to scorch a target with this weapon, it takes around 30 bullets. It was a bit inconsistent for me because sometimes I tapped every shot individually, and sometimes I just held down the trigger, and if I held down the trigger, it took a little bit longer, so it was like 30 to 37 bullets ish to inflict scorch. And then to inflict the ignition after an enemy is scorched, it took about another 30. And with the rolls I had, I could get up to the magazine, I could make the magazine 67. So I'm thinking on average, you get one scorch plus ignition every magazine or so. Sometimes you keep shooting, and after a magazine, no ignition happens, but at least a scorch happens. But anyway, back to my point. Like I was saying, if there are multiple targets and you're just ad clearing, this does still apply scorch. For example, like I just said, the amount of bullets it takes to scorch, you can put some bullets on one enemy and you kill it. Let's say, for example, it takes 30 to inflict scorch, and you put 20 on an enemy and they die. The next 10 bullets will still scorch the next enemy. You know what I mean? I could have worded that so much easier, but my brain doesn't work that way. Bear with me. So you can make the excuse that it can be an ad clear, and at the same time it can chunk bigger enemies, right? And I'm not trying to make the argument that this is a boss killer, right? Like a boss DPS sort of thing. But still, ignitions are pretty powerful. So if you have an ultra that you're shooting at that is surrounded by enemies, an ignition is going to do a lot of damage. Obviously, specifically on solo builds. It's like getting a gunfire gamble every other magazine. Big explosion, you know? So it's pretty promising. And so that's why I couldn't quite decide between if I like the heal clip perk more in combination with it, or subsistence when in terms of just going for pure ad clear and getting a bit of my magazine back. But either way, it feels really nice to use. Thank goodness they've actually added auto rifles. Bungie seemingly are allergic to adding a lot of auto rifles, and I'm so happy to see them again. I don't care if they're reissues. I love this sort of thing. You don't care that it's a reskin? You're pathetic. Typical Destiny player. Why the fuck are you here, Timothy? Either way, I considered other perks to pair with Burning Ambition, and nothing really else comes closer than Heal Clip and Subsistence in terms of the best I can think of, really. I know Recycled Energy exists, but to my understanding, it is next to useless of a perk, so there's really no need. Plus, the Origin trait already kind of gives you back some class ability, and considering this weapon cannot get Incandescent, it still is a nice option to have. It's sounding like I'm almost unsure that if this weapon is good or not. You'd have to use it yourself to really see, because it feels nice. I like chunking ads with this thing. I like shooting a very tanky enemy and making ignitions happen. Are there weapons that are easier to make ignitions happen? Yes, probably, but I don't care. It's new, and it's fun. Keep an eye out for this roll. It's pretty good. I think you'll like it too. Right, here's the last weapon, and it's the Aurora Dawn sword. It's the stasis sword, again, new to this season. It is a deep frame sword. A deep frame, did I just say? A wave frame sword. I don't really care about the wave frame aspect of the sword, to be honest. I'm more interested in a particular way I play this season, and it's very boring, mind you. This is going to be probably the most meta thing I say in terms of PvE. I'm sure this is already widespread everywhere. I don't really watch other YouTube videos, so I don't know how the meta is in PvE, but all I've been using this season, most of the time, has been the Choir of One, the exotic auto rifle that uses energy ammo. You can basically primary that thing, and if you have it with destabilizing rounds, you guys already know. You guys know. It blitzes everything, including bosses. It is fantastic. And so when I'm using that, I'm trying to be a bit of an ape with it, you know, because my main loadout is multi-max, so I just make a bunch of orbs and attrition orbs, or I just use the Mercury bow like I talked about earlier. So I make a bunch of those orbs, pick them up, get ×2 void weapon surge, and instantly I have a Choir of One with a massive damage buff. But in order to sustain that special ammo, this sword drops with another brand new perk, and it is called Sharp Harvest. Landing 3 light attacks grants special ammo. Now I have the enhanced version, so it's a lesser time. I believe it's about 6 seconds. I don't really care about the seconds, because if I just see stuff, I'm gonna start swiping at it. So essentially, when it comes to the Choir of One anyway, every time you hit 3 light attacks on an enemy, you get 12 ammo back. So for every 3 heavy ammo used of the sword, you get 12 green ammo. That's pretty good. And this is why it's a little bit more niche. I don't know how useful it will be ultimately. And that's why I think this is a bit more niche. I'm not saying this is some meta pick or something. I really have no idea. But it sounds pretty handy. And it's been handy for me when I've been using Choir of One. If I'm having a hard time with the ammo, which to be honest isn't that much of a hard time anyway. But if I'm using any sort of special weapon, it doesn't just apply for Choir of One, but I'm just applying this to myself, you see. You could be using a rocket sidearm maybe, or a fusion, whatever you got. This applies to it, of course. Anything with special ammo. It's just always helped me out of ammo. And a particularly interesting part is if you keep slashing and doing light attacks on immune enemies, let's say it's an immune boss that's in the middle of an immune phase, it still gives you ammo, you know? So it's a little bit of a cheat there, you know? A little bit of a cheese. I don't know if it's a cheese. It's just, I'm still taking damage and stuff, but I'm getting ammo for nothing. Okay, that's also a lie. It's not for nothing. I'm using heavy ammo, but you get what I mean. It's a process, and I switch back to my Choir of One or whatever special weapon I'm using, and I'm getting my heavy ammo from that because I'm getting kills, and that's going towards my meter. So it's just one of those things that is more of a adds on to your build rather than is the make of it, you know? So certainly a smaller shout out to the sword, but still, it's been really handy for me, and I'm sure in the months to come, it's going to be quite a useful perk to have. But my role I have anyway is Sharp Harvest and Elemental Honing. I also have a Sharp Harvest and One for All, because both require hitting an enemy 3 times. And if you do, you get more damage because of One for All. And if you do, you get more ammo because you've hit an enemy 3 times. So that's all it is. A little extra help, you know? No harm in that. And I thought it might be helpful for you guys, you know? I know a lot of people don't like the ammo economy. Looking at you, Nikki. Anyway, let me know what you think of my ideas here. I don't mean they're like this revolutionary idea that's going to change the landscape of PvE. I don't know. I thought they were fun. I should have made this video about a week ago, but I hate my brain because I keep telling myself this is pointless. But I thought, why not? Maybe you guys will like it. Maybe you guys will find it useful. At least one of you out there, maybe. But either way, I love your faces. This has been... I was about to say, this has been your boy, Heli. Yes. Thank you for listening to my ramblings of sorts. Let me know if you use the bow, the auto rifle, or the sword, anything like that, or any particular weapons yourself that are new and you've been enjoying that's maybe you feel is a bit underrated and underlooked. Genuinely, I'm interested in hearing, so let me know. Aside from that though, guys, thank you so much for listening, as I just said. Hope you guys are having fun with the DLC so far. Love your faces very much. Happy light grinding. It's called power nowadays. It's not called light, is it? Oh well, who cares? Leave a like, subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff. There will be more videos soon, best believe. But until then, I love your faces very much. And lastly, take care!